I'm Madeline Yanni, a Botanical Crafts instructor here at the New York Botanical Garden, and today I'm going to show you how to create a square wreath. As with any craft project, first we must gather our materials. The materials used to make this wreath can be any botanicals left over from previous craft projects or flowers that you may have dried from your own garden. I decided to use botanicals that reminded me of each season. I decided to use quince for fall, red cedar roses for winter, bamboo for summer, larkspur for spring, and the magnolia leaves will be used to separate each botanical. The materials that you need to purchase is a styrofoam square wreath or a grapevine square wreath, sheet moss, and moss cloth. This is a new product which you may not find in the craft stores. It's moss attached to a net backing, and it works best with the styrofoam square wreath. Now the first step is to cover our wreath with the moss. Now if you choose to use the grapevine wreath, what you're going to do is to glue it on. And how you do this is you add some hot glue right on the sheet moss. And then you just cover like this, and you do this all the way around. And then for the styrofoam wreath, you cut a piece of the moss cloth to fit your wreath, and what you're doing is you're just pulling it to one side and you're using floral pins to secure it in place, just like this. Now where your seams meet, that's going to be the back of your wreath, so nobody can see any of the seams. And when you're done, it should look like this. And when the sheet moss one is done, completed, it should look like this. Our next step is we're going to section off our square wreath like you would a pizza. What we're going to do is use floral pins to make a straight line across. And the reason we're sectioning them off is we're laying out our pattern. And it's fairly simple. So when you're done, you should have 8 sections just like this. Now our next step is to decide which order we're going to lay out our botanicals. And what I find best is I use little post-its. This is where my quince is going to go, and whatever I put here, I'm putting the exact opposite. This is so you don't forget which order your pattern is going to go. Now quince will be the first one I use, and when using the quince, what I like to do is I just add a little glue on the outside, and I start right by the edge. Now to keep with the symmetry of this wreath, I like to make everything in a row, just like this. Place everything. Now don't forget when you're doing this, not only are you gluing quince to the top, you're going to do this side and then the back side. And when you're done with all this, it should look just like this. And the next botanical we're going to use is the bamboo. Now with the bamboo, it's easy to put them on. We're just putting a little glue, and then we're just going to make a row. And you're going to do this all the way across until you get to about here. Now, if you do have room on either side, what I like to do is to add bamboo going this way, just to give it a little outline. And you will continue this all the way through, and then you will start in this side. So when you're done with the bamboo should look just like this. And don't forget that you're doing the inside and then the outside, and then you have a row of bamboo just to give it some texture. Now our next step is we're going to use the cedar roses. Cedar roses, we're going to try and keep these in a straight row, and we're only going halfway down. And then I go right up there and just press them down and hold them in place. And you will probably need either 2 or 3 depending on the sizes. And when you're done with that, it should look just like this. The next step is the larkspur. The larkspur I use last because it's the most delicate. As you've noticed, I used the most sturdiest botanical I had, and I worked my way down to the most delicate, and that is the larkspur. The larkspur, you just need a piece about this big, and please be careful gluing these because they are delicate and they're small little flowers. We're just putting a little glue on the flowers, and then we're just laying them down. I lay them side by side, and if I have any little flower that is left over, I will just put a little glue on the flower and cover the stem up just like that. And then I will continue this on the top and the sides, taking my time to make sure it's totally covered. It should look like this. So this is your completed wreath without the magnolias. Now as you see, I didn't worry too much about the edges because that's going to be covered with the magnolia leaves, and then it's going to complete the wreath. Now the way we do this is we match up 3 similar magnolia leaves that are in shape. I cut the stems off because we don't need them. And what we do is we just add some more hot glue right along the leaf. And what I do is I work on the sides first, and you might have to hold it in place so it reaches. Then I take my next leaf and then we work inert, just like that. And then our final step is we're putting another magnolia leaf right on top. And then you add a bunch of glue, make sure you get the edges. And this we put on top just to give it a nice clean look. So you're going to continue this step with the magnolia leaves for each section. So you're going to have 8 of them, and you're going to do the corners, the 4 corners, and here. And once you're all done, it should look just like this. And this is your square wreath. Now that we're done creating our square wreath, I'm going to show you some other options you have to use this. Besides hanging it on your wall, you can also use it as a centerpiece for your table, just by adding a mirror underneath it and adding a large candle. And then you have a nice centerpiece for your coffee table or for your dining room table. And another option we have with the grapevine wreath, if you decide not to cover it with moss, you can always just do a little symmetrical arrangement on it. And here I just use eucalyptus, princess lavender, and some grass. Okay. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed learning how to create a botanical craft in your home. Botanical Crafts is one of the 9 fields of study offered in our 250-acre classroom at the New York Botanical Gardens Continuing Education Program. I'm Madeline Yanni at the New York Botanical Garden, and I'll see you in the next Botanical Craft class.